The Indiana Department of Transportation will be holding a public hearing about a dangerous intersection in northern Spencer County. We'll tell you when that will be. Plus, local legislators are pushing for more career and technical-based education in Indiana, and Purdue Extension educator Jan Dugan is tonight's guest on Informed. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. The Indiana Department of Transportation has started its review of safety at a Spencer County intersection that was the site of a deadly accident late last month. INDOT says they are seeking public input as they assess the safety of the south junction of US 231 and State Road 62 near Dale. The department has scheduled a special public hearing for next Thursday, January 22nd. It will begin at 6 o'clock Central Time in the Heritage Hills High School auditorium. Now, there is no formal presentation planned as part of the meeting. Instead, INDOT officials will be meeting with the community to hear verbal testimony. Written comments will be accepted during the hearing. If bad weather is in the forecast for next Thursday, you can call 317-232-6601, or you can check INDOT Southwest's Facebook and Twitter pages to determine if the hearing has been rescheduled. Next week's hearing will not be the only opportunity for public comment, however. You can send comments by mail to INDOT's Office of Public Involvement in Indianapolis. You can also email them to INDOT Public Hearings Manager Ricky Clark at rclark@indot.in.gov. The deadline for all public comments on the issue is coming up on Friday, February 13th. Now, this hearing comes after 60-year-old Susan Grundhafer of Dale was killed in a two-vehicle accident at the intersection back on December 29th. Grundhafer was going westbound on State Road 62 and tried to cross the southbound lanes of US 231. She failed to yield the right-of-way to a southbound SUV, and her vehicle was hit in the right side door. The impact caused Grundhafer's vehicle to roll over, and it came to rest on its roof. Grundhafer was pronounced dead at the scene. The Ferdinand Fire Department is now the second one in our area to request the installation of Knox boxes on new construction. Last night, Fire Chief Dan Lindauer asked the Ferdinand Town Council to consider an ordinance on the matter. Any new ordinance would require the boxes to be installed on any newly built buildings in town. Now, Lindauer says about 12 buildings in town already have the boxes installed. He told the council the biggest benefit of the boxes would be having less keys to carry around on the fire trucks and being more organized as a result. Lindauer says the boxes would help to improve response times, something he says is very important.
It is an issue because if we do not carry their key for that business, providing what's going on inside, we may have to wait 15, 20, 30, 45 minutes for a representative to get there to open up. And time is very crucial when we respond to any and all runs.
The boxes are also being considered in Huntingburg, as you'll recall. The Huntingburg City Council and the Ferdinand Council will both take up that issue at later meetings. On a related note, the Ferdinand Fire Department added 5 new firefighters last night. They approved hiring Charlie and Austin Wire, Dylan Hinkey, Brandon Schaefer, and Jamison Denning. The hires bring the department up to 32 firefighters. In other business, Ferdinand Town Council President Ken Seacard brought up concerns related to a recently published article in Electric Consumer magazine. The article, which was published in its January edition, singled out Jasper, Huntingburg, and Ferdinand as part of the problem facing rural electric cooperatives. The article quotes Du Bois REC General Manager Don Book. Book depicts the 3 communities as predators. Book says in the article that the cities have taken a lot of territory away from Du Bois REC, thus eating into their profits. Seacard is currently preparing a 3-page letter to state legislators on the issue. He says he's halfway done with the letter and says the premise of the article doesn't make any sense.
The article got my dander up just a little bit, but I think they're going after it the wrong way. If they're worried they're not getting enough money, then okay, let's work on the annexation costs that are involved. And, if it's such a big to-do, I'd be more glad to sit down and talk there, but don't restrict me, not saying that annexation's in Ferdinand's future. It is somewhere down the road, but don't tell me I can't go after the electrical too when I got to supply everything else as a town.
Seacard says 93% of electrical customers in the state are already served by RECs. In Ferdinand, that number is around 21%. Governor Mike Pence's third State of the State address has generated a lot of attention, including what can be done to help the state education system. Pence has renewed his push for education funding, which is a big concern for state legislators representing Du Bois and surrounding counties. During his address, Pence called for an additional $200 million in funding for K-12 schools. That amount would include $41 million that would go towards charter schools, equating to $1,500 per charter school student. Pence stated he hopes to have 100,000 more students enrolled in high-quality schools by 2020. However, the charter school idea has not generated much enthusiasm across the state. Instead, local legislators are among those who continue to tout career and technical education at both the K-12 and college levels as a viable solution to helping the education system. District 48 Senator Mark Messmer and District 63 Representative Mike Braun are among those pushing for better career and technical education. Messmer says putting more emphasis in career-based learning would make a major impact.
There's been too much emphasis for the last 20 years on really funneling, trying to funnel all students to four-year education, and spending another, hundreds of millions of dollars more, on our four-year college campuses for more buildings doesn't really seem to be economically, where that priority needs to be. Needs to be spent. We need to focus more of it on vocational programming, on the Ivy Techs and VUs that get kids prepared for the technical careers that are really being undersupplied to the market now.
Meanwhile, Braun served on the Greater Jasper School Board prior to being elected as a state representative. He says career and technical education needs to start at the high school level.
I think that over the last 10 to 20 years we've drifted away from technical skill generations in high school. That's a precursor to that two-year degree. So I'm hoping all high schools look at reinvigorating those programs, because I think they're going to be more applicable to a lot of students ending up getting that right degree and a good job.
In other notes, Pence called for a balanced budget amendment to be added to the state's constitution during last night's address. Such an amendment would require the state to control its spending while keeping it from taking on massive amounts of debt. Pence's speech also touched on road funding and a renewed push for the Healthy Indiana plan. Finally this evening, the Huntingburg Airport will soon have a pair of opportunities to showcase its efforts at the state level. The first opportunity will involve a meeting with the Indiana Department of Defense. Huntingburg Airport Manager Travis McQueen says he will meet with department representatives on January 22nd to talk about the airport's needs for airspace as it relates to the Huntingburg Technology Park. McQueen says available airspace plays a key role in whether or not clients choose to come to the Huntingburg Airport.
As we go out and solicit the market and look for clients that would come to the Huntingburg Airport Technology Park, one of their needs are going to be to access airspace that they can push envelopes of aircraft, do live demonstrations of aircraft, and simply to push the envelopes for both product development and for live demonstrations.
McQueen says the department will also visit the airport as part of this process. No date has been set for that visit. Then, on January 28th, McQueen will head to Indianapolis to take part in the Aviation Association of Indiana's legislative lunch. McQueen will join officials from other airports across the state to talk with legislators about issues facing airports statewide. Now, McQueen says the two biggest issues facing the Huntingburg Airport this legislative session are the regional cities approach that's being pushed by the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, along with infrastructure improvements like road funding. McQueen says more money is needed to improve local roads. He says road improvements would only help the airport.
You gotta have roads to get to the airport, and you gotta take care of those roads getting to the airport. And that's our concern, is what kind of infrastructure do we have to get here. I think there's been some talk about a large road being constructed in the area here in Du Bois County, and I think that impact would have a huge economic development impact to the airport directly if that would come to fruition.
As for the regional cities approach, McQueen says it would make a nicer gateway to southwestern Indiana. McQueen has reached out to the IEDC to find out if airports would be included in that push. All right, coming up after the break, your local forecast, sports with Kurt Guxell, and Inform with Jan Dugan. That's all up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Local people watching local people.